What's up, Trainiacs? Welcome to... Again, I miss you. Better. Welcome to this week's Triathlon News Day Tuesday. In this week's News Day, we go over Ironman entering India for the first time ever. USA Triathlon creates a task force to combat dopers, and the first ever Women in Triathlon Summit occurs in Tempe, Arizona. Girl power! What's up, Trainiacs? Welcome to this week's Triathlon News Day Tuesday, where every single Tuesday we go over all of the news that's happening around the world of triathlon. As always, make sure you stick around to the end, where we share everyone's favorite aspect of Triathlon News Day. That is a story from the Trainiac community, and this week's edition is a good one. And as always, full links to everything we talk about will be in the description below. Now let's start off with Ironman. In their continued expansion into Asia and the Pacific Rim area, considering that they are now owned by Wanda Group, which is an Asian company, they are setting up the first race ever in India. And this is going to take place in Goa, which is a very tourist-centric location in India. The first race is going to happen on October 20th, 2019, and it's going to be a half Ironman. Now, looking into our stats, if it interests you at all, 0.2% of our viewers of the YouTube channel are from India. So if you want to go and cherry pick a spot to the 2020 Half Ironman World Championship, that might be the place to do it. They're picking up garbage outside. Like I said, we're professional here. Next up, USA Triathlon announced that they will be investing $100,000 approved by their board of directors to combat doping more than they currently are. Now they are going to be expanding the amount of amateurs that get tested for doping at national and non-national events, and they have also created an anti-doping task force. Now, I am going to create a little bit of scuttlebutt, and I would actually say that there is probably more doping going on even just in the amateur ranks of triathlon than most people think about. Comments below with your thoughts or questions about that, and maybe we talk about that in another video. Strava released their annual year in review for 2018, and of the 36 million users that they have worldwide, they have an average of 20 activities uploaded every single second to pull data from. Of some of the more interesting data this year, Tuesday is the most frequent day to work out. May 6th is the most worked out day all around the globe. Men tend to upload cycling rides more than anything else. Women tend to upload running events more than anything else. And if you want more kudos on your post, add an emoji to it. The full report is in the description below. It's always a very interesting one. Fun little note, Sebastian Kienle joined the ranks of all of the pro triathletes, and I know that there are actually going to be more, talking with some of my pro triathlete pals out there that have been asking me about how to start a YouTube channel. Well, Sebastian Kienle threw his hat in the ring, and in Sebastian Kienle fashion said that he turned down millions from Netflix to start his own YouTube channel. I'd take the Netflix money, man. There's no money in YouTube. It sucks. And finally, for the news, the first ever Outspoken Women in Triathlon Summit hosted by Triathlete Magazine happened over the weekend in Tempe, Arizona. This was a 3-day summit that a lot of the absolute best of the best from the world of triathlon gathered for discussions and networking with amateur and pro triathletes, industry representatives, media representatives, really well covered. And interestingly enough, well, it will name drop a certain triathlon podcast that happens to be the most highly rated triathlon podcast in the world, the Triathlon Taren Podcast. But we are bringing on Ashley from the Iron Women podcast, who helped cover the Outspoken Summit, and she's going to come on our podcast and talk about some of the highlights. So make sure you're subscribed to that. And while we're at it, another YouTuber out there, one of the very most popular in the endurance world, the vegan cyclist Tyler Pierce, was on our podcast. We just published that on Sunday, so go check it out if you like him. Hashtag bruh. Surprisingly, we actually had a very busy race calendar as far as Ironman races are concerned. The South American Full Ironman Championship happened down in Argentina with Michael Weiss and Sarah Crowley punching their tickets to Kona. Apparently it's comeback season as Terenzo Bozzone won for the second time in 2 weeks, beating out Cameron Wurf. By the way, Cameron Wurf is the two-time bike course record holder from Kona, and he's teaching a how-to bike with Cameron Wurf masterclass. If you're interested in that, go to triathlontaren.com/early masterclass. Early spots for the How to Swim with Lucy Charles masterclass is sold out, but if you still want to get in on the early spots for that, you can buy the All Access Pass, which gets you access to all the classes that we are going to create every single year for half price, $90 a month instead of $180. And Cameron Wurf is right at the bottom of that early masterclass page. And then finally, half Ironman Cartinha happened. I love saying Cartinha. Well, Paulo Silva won the men's race while Lauren Goss won the women's. Now, let's get into the Trainiac Story, which is a shorty but a really goodie because it's all about coming full circle here. Hey Taren, when my then fiance, now husband, started doing triathlons almost 2 years ago, he began watching your videos. Therefore, I also started watching your videos. I really enjoyed them, although I had no intention of doing a triathlon. I used to call running the bane of my existence and basically tried any workout I could that did not involve cardio. But race after race of being a Sherpa, I started thinking maybe I wanted to try to finish a race. I kept the thought in the back of my mind, but still not quite confident enough to say anything to anyone I didn't. I'd never really swam, I had a 50-pound Schwinn cruiser bike, and as previously mentioned, I hated running, so it really just seemed like a fleeting joke of a thought. Then one night while I was going to sleep, my fiance was watching your video where you read the very first Trainiac Story. I listened to Steve's story about all he'd overcome, and in that moment, I decided I could do it. The next day, I told my fiance I wanted to try a triathlon. He was pumped, and I started training right away. When I began, I could only swim 25 yards without stopping. I was riding my 50-pound Schwinn cruiser bike, and I could barely run half a mile without stopping. Whenever I struggled, I remembered Steve's story, and it inspired me to push through. 7 months of training and encouragement from my incredible now husband Mitch, finally getting a road bike, your videos, and Steve's story helped me exceed my goals of finishing a sprint try without walking and landed me a second place finish in my age group. I cannot thank you and the Trainiac community enough. I will add in, especially Steve. Thank you, Steve, for sharing your story because this is the stuff that happens. I've officially got the triathlon bug and I am so proud and excited to be a part of the supportive community of triathlon. Biggest thanks, Trainiac's Alex. That is so awesome, Alex. It's great to hear. The whole idea when we wanted to start sharing these stories is that this is more than me talking to a camera and pontificating about my thoughts about triathlon. All of you, by sharing your stories here on Triathlon News Day, it inspires each other. And that's the best part. The community that triathlon creates is the most amazing part of this sport. So congratulations, Alex. Thank you for sharing your story. And I hope that you and this story pass it forward to somebody else. So if anyone else wants to continue that cycle of getting more people into triathlon, email me at Taren@triathlontaren.com. No story is too big or too small. Thanks to everyone for watching. If you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button below. And if you are subscribed, send in your stories. We like them, we love them. Way to go, Trainiacs. Later.